senior NSDs suited up as guest speakers and carried out the fundamentals theme of the meeting. Here are some excerpts, so be sure and stay tuned in the weeks ahead to catch these awesome talks in their entirety.
When I look back and I look at the things that changed my life, it was the little moments when I'd sit down at a restaurant with Dewey Cass, and he'd look me in the eye, and I'd say, Dewey, we're going to build something phenomenal here. We're going to build one of the biggest businesses in Pasadena. This is one of the greatest companies in the world. I think you should give up everything you have and come to work here with me. And when they look you in that eye for just that second, that flicker, to see if you're for real or not, he decides I'm for real. Do you have that now, today, in your life? Or you just we just go through the program. It is so easy, folks, right now with our pay system to just float through the program, make plenty of money, and not have to be on top of the game. Well, I'm telling you, I don't want to blow this deal. I don't want us to be flat. I don't want us to just ride out. There's a few of us in this room that'll make it no matter what happens. But most of you in this room haven't come close to making it yet, and you know it. Well, I'll tell you what you got to do. You got to go. You got to think about the most exciting moments that you've ever had in A.L. Williams, and your most excited feelings, and the most excited times. And you got to go back to that and grab that feeling and work it for the next year. I mean, you got to love A.L. Williams. When I ask this question, I mean, do you love A.L. Williams? Everything about it, from working late, opportunity meetings, ringing the doorbell. I mean, do you love it, and are you excited about it, and do you believe, listen, really, I mean this, do you believe it will deliver for you anymore? I believe there's half these people in this room that really don't believe it. Maybe that's sacrilegious, it's a fact, because you're not acting like you believe it. You know, we talk about a recruiting problem. A recruiting problem is not a system. A recruiting problem is that you want to recruit, you know how you get recruiting going? You personally get excited. You personally, in your little sphere, me, Mike Sharp, gets excited. And I excite 3 people, and they excite 10, and they excite 50. That's the only way that it will work. Your personal enthusiasm and excitement about where we're going and what we're going to do. There is no system. There's nothing that... Bob Turley's doing an awesome system, but it's not his system. It's him. He's excited. He's fired up. He believes it's work. He's selling his dream to everybody. We got to have that. We will go nowhere, folks, without the same excitement and enthusiasm we had when we were beating Prudential, when we were breaking records. See, I think this is the exciting times. Folks, guys like me and guys like Hubert and Seth and all these winners didn't get there because they just lucked out and recruited a few good people. It was an all-consuming drive to win. A fear of losing. They say you shouldn't be motivated by fear. I've been motivated by fear that since the day I started A.L. Williams. I don't want to lose. I don't want to let go. I want to win. I want to make it happen. But you've got to have an all-consuming hunger to make it win.
And one of the things that you had to have is a definite plan. Everybody talks about having a goal and writing down a game plan with all the steps in it. But he says it's a little different in this on this particular part. He says you got to have a clear, concise, definite plan expressed by continuous action. So a lot of you got plans in your little spiral notebooks that you've written down many times, but you forget to you forget to express it with continuous action. And you got to have a definiteness of purpose. Don't ever do anything that you don't have a definiteness of purpose. You know, when you throw a punch, throw it with murderous intention. You know, so let's do that. The third thing is that you got to have a closed mind, a mind that's sealed shut to negatives. Negative forces, negative people, negative articles, all that you have got to be able to handle them. No, I don't mean you run from them or you live in some little unreal world, but I mean you have got to be able to keep those things from penetrating your mind and your heart and weakening you. And then the fourth thing is you got to have a mastermind type relationship with some person or people that you respect and admire that you'll submit yourself to in a personal relationship, and that they can help you and keep you on a straight and narrow. You can't walk this walk alone. I don't care. I don't know how good you are. I can't do it. Hey, I'm pretty tough. I heard a tape back 1967, 68, one of the first times I heard any motivational tapes, and it was a tape that said, "Who motivates the motivator?" The title made me listen to it. And I found out it was the motivator. He's self-motivated. I'm a self-motivator, but even having said that, I still have got to have counsel and direction from people that I admire and respect. All great leaders that I'm aware of were also great followers. You understand that? And so we've got to do it. In fact, in this business, you don't have to have a bunch of creative thoughts. In fact, every creative thought you're going to have, Bill, it's going to cost you probably about $1 million. So have as many as you can afford. You better have imitative thoughts. I mean it really. Hey, that ought to be so encouraging to the people we're recruiting out there who don't feel like they're a genius and they don't have some PhD and they're not rocket scientists and things like that. I tell you, I love that. When I found out that all you had to do was copy, but copy exactly, that all you had to do was imitate those above and duplicate it down below, I realized I was on to something. That this was a system that's transferable. And I've tried to be as best as I could so far, and I'm still trying to get better at it, continue to have things in a transferable, duplicatable way. That's one reason why a system does become important at some part in your career. Burning desire and the willingness to work and all those things are the key in the beginning. But as you start to get a team of people together, you don't just haphazardly, hey, Mike Sharp has a system. When you were going to school and you used to look over on the other person's paper and the teacher would catch you, it was bad to copy. But here it's perfect and it's acceptable. It's the only way to win is to copy. You understand that?
Got to keep the main thing the main thing. You know, I walked in a guy's office one day, started trying to recruit for A. Williams, 3-piece suit, wingtip shoes, typical corporate type. He looked at me and said, "You got to be kidding. A. Williams hires nothing but truck drivers and factory workers." I said, "Yes, sir, we hire people just like your parents." I said, "Forgive me for saying this, but you've forgotten where you've come from." And folks, we have forgotten where we've come from. We go back to our Cadillacs and our big cars and our nice homes. We forget that little guy out there is dying and crying to be what we are. And we go back to the daggum office. We sit down with them and say, the way it gets to the top is through smart, through Group A and H, and the way we got to where we are is through recruiting. And because someone told us that. It's an interesting thing about Andy Young. I carry this all over the place. If you want to succeed, read 3 pages a day. There's 30 pages in here. 90 pages in here. Every month you'll complete it one time and then start all over again. And I guarantee you're recruiting a quadruple and quintuple. You can't stop it. We talk about getting back to the fundamentals. People say, do your people know how to give a good presentation? Do they know how to give a good recruiting presentation? They know how to give a good asset management. They know how to sell smart. And man, can they sell that A&H. But can they give a worthwhile recruiting presentation? Can they tell me what dud power is? They can't do any of that. But man, they can kill dividends. And we wonder about getting back to the fundamentals. Folks, I got back to the fundamentals. All I know is, all the time I get around my people, that's all they talk about is recruiting. Why? They get tired of it. I look them in the eye, they got a glazed look. They don't know. I talked to Andy Young. Took him 18 months to get his hierarchy after he started going to where he really wanted to be. You think he went out there and hired 500 people in that month? 18 months later, he's hiring 500 people a month. What's your A. Williams Constitution? You know, America's got a Constitution. You know how many liberals have ideas that we should change that Constitution? But we've got a Constitution, and nothing changes that. See, folks, you're going to have an A. Williams Constitution also. A lot of people come up with some ideas, and man, that sounds great, and that sounds great, and we keep changing. We're going to try this for a while. Boy, that sounds great. We need another good prospecting tool. Folks, we don't need another good prospecting tool. Art Williams gave us that in a part-time recruit. The best prospecting tool in America is hiring somebody brand new. Where we keep looking. Remember when Excel was the greatest prospecting tool in the world? Remember that? Remember the credit card? Folks, we don't need another one. We got them. It's called recruiting. What's your A. Williams Constitution? I'm here to tell you right now, if A. Williams ain't working it for you, it's because you're doing it your way.
You see, I played for the Yankees for 8 years, and out of those 7 years, I was in 7 World Series. And there's very few people today that can even talk about playing in a World Series, not alone winning a World Series game. So you got to understand how that is to feel that. But think of the New York Yankees and think of A.O. Williams for the moment. The New York Yankees, when I was there, in 25 years, they won the American League pennant in 23 years. Now that's a feat I don't think anybody can beat except you in this audience right here. But I want to ask you a question. That very first year that they won the championship season, there was 25 ball players on that team. I want to ask you a question. When they won that last time, were the same 25 ball players still there? You see, some of you all in this room honestly believe you're still going to keep on winning year in and year out with that same team. I got news for you. You're not going to win with them every year. Until you understand what this business in A.O. Williams is all about, you got to have a fresh team every year. You know, it's fun to go to spring training with a fresh team. You got a lot of people excited. They want the challenge. And if you don't have a good minor league system, meaning recruits to all of you in this room, if you don't have a good minor league system going to your organization, you're going to get old very fast. You're also going to get very bitter. And you're going to be one of those people in A.O. Williams who say, gee, I paid the price. How many have ever heard that statement? I paid the price. Well, you know, the people that really pay a price is a person who works 9 to 5 in a corporation world, gets off on Saturdays and Sunday, and gets a 2-week vacation a year. I can honestly tell everyone in this room that I am the luckiest guy in the world because all my life, for the first 18 years of my life, when I was 17 years of age, I played a kid's game and got paid a man's wages in baseball. Now, was it pleasant every day? Hell no, it wasn't pleasant. Did I lose ball games? Yes. Do you want me to talk about the games I lost or the games I won? Look at my major league career. I was over 100 victories in the World Series, 100 victories as a major league pitcher. I was a Cy Young Award winner, most valuable player in the World Series. I could go on Hickok Award, most valuable professional athlete of the year. All of those things. And there were many times that I would pitch a ball game in New York. I would pitch a game, and I would lose. There's nothing as worse, probably as bad in A.O. Williams as when somebody says, no, I don't want to come to work with you. No, I don't want to buy your product. And you feel very bad. Well, you know what Bob Turley did? Bob Turley, when I pitched and lost a game in the big leagues, one thing I did not do. When I went home that night, I didn't turn on the television set. I didn't turn on the radio. I didn't read the newspaper the next day. And for 24 hours, I isolated myself from that environment. And then on the next day, everything was back to normal again because they already forgot about me. But in 3 days later, I had an opportunity to get back on that mound again and pitch and win. And I would win a ball game. And Major League pitcher is a pitcher who can win 6 out of 10 games. Or his team wins 6 out of 10 games from start, then you're a Major League winner, and that's what my career was. But after I won a ball game, guess what I did? Man, I listened to the radio, I listened to the TV, I bought every newspaper I could get. You see, some of us in A.O. Williams, we forget that. Some of us go out and we get a no, we get a rejection. Let me tell you something. You don't have to wait like Bob Turley did 4 days before I had a chance to go out and prove myself again. Everyone in this room can go out and recruit another person. Recruit one more person, and you can do it right after that one says no, and you're back on top.
I'm going back to personally doing one opportunity meeting a week. I averaged probably 3.5 per week in my first 6 years, and in the last year I've just done 1 per month. I will begin doing one opportunity a week, meeting a week myself in the Bay Shop. It will be on Tuesday nights, same as it was when we originally built. At the same time, you can just there's no, you number these if you want to. The next thing that we do, we believe that anything a person needs to do in the sales process and recruiting process, they should get at least 1 training class on it. So we broke the training that a person needs into 6 classes. And so every time we have an op meeting, we always have 3 classes going on at the same time. I suppose Hubert originally, which I learned this from, used to have 4, and then I added 2 more as time went by. Remember when I came back from Denver, Hubert was the 4. And one of the things that I learned from Hubert at that time was recruiting is really, you're never supposed to just have an op meeting alone. You're supposed to have the op meeting with the training classes combined. Because if your recruiting gets relegated to what you can do and the old heads can do, it dries up. The recruiting comes from new people's enthusiasm and their new natural market, and you better be in their new natural market within 1 week, maybe 2, or you won't get any recruits. And so that's where your recruiting comes from. So when you take some of the old pros, Ronnie, Larry, Bob, any of them, if they wanted to crank up their base shop, you'd see bodies flying in 1 and 2 months, because we know how to get this going right away and don't try and do it ourselves. We know how to get new people into their new markets. So you have to get people in the habit of coming for training all the time, and as long as you're coming for training and the car's empty, might as well have somebody to talk to. Each one bring one, or each one bring 2. So now as part of their training, they're coming to a meeting and they're bringing 1 or 2 people, and they get used to it. And then in these 6 classes, first thing you do, everybody has somebody in the op meeting. How many got in there? Let's give them a hand. Who has 2? Who has 3? T-shirt to the person that has most. Now that feels good. So people say, if I want another T-shirt or another hand, because they don't get anywhere they work corporate-wise, isn't that right? Bring more people, get another hand. You get them used to that. You get them conditioned. Then if you have the money, you have another bigger room. When they finish their 6 training classes or advanced training they can go into, because now you got them used to coming. Why cut it off? In fact, you got them used to coming and bringing, and they probably left their chicken list. The best ones are yet to come. Keep them coming. So it's nice if you can have a bigger room and an advanced room to go with it. So we have an opportunity meeting with 6 classes. The 6 classes labeled very quickly are the orientation meeting, recruiting, price and value, that's all there is. That's consumer. Asset management 1, which is the flip. Asset management 2, which is how you handle people in the flip. And closing with the third-party system. Those are the 6 classes. I want to urge you that if you have opportunity meetings separately, you're missing the boat. Try and find a way to try training classes going on at the same time, even if you have to pool with other hierarchies or other people in your own hierarchy. That, to me, is one of the ingredients. Another ingredient I mentioned, you can almost predict your income. We call it earnings per chair, and that is by counting the number of butts in seats, earnings per chair. And I think if we all get real vigorous about earnings per chair in August and September, Sandy will be very pleased with his earnings per share that come from our phase of the business. So that's a big one. My base shop hasn't had any seats filled over the last few months because it simply wasn't building one. It will go back up and be filled within a couple of months, hopefully weeks. Another key thing in that, we sound the gong, message, each one bring one, preferably 2.
You got to get out there, but you got to do it first. I did my 20. I had 21. Our team came through, and we started a surge. We have 2,500. We're averaging 500 recruits a month. Now I looked at the computer today, 500 again for this month. 500. We went from 80 recruits 2 years ago, 80 recruits a month, to 190. And we've gone from the first this year from 190 now to 500 a month, 5 months in a row. I think we're at a new level. I think we turn it up a couple notches and go again. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I think something big's going to happen. Our premium's up for the year. Our recruiting's way up. I think our premium's going to be way up the rest of the year and the rest of next year. You got to get these things in place, but it starts small. It starts with 4 people going to Atlanta. It starts with you taking a stand. It starts with you making a difference. I think about some of the things that we've been able to do. You know, with my mom and dad, they had their 45th wedding anniversary just recently. We had a tape done by ALW TV. Wind Beneath My Wings, that song we sang in New Orleans. Flashed their whole life. I mean, my mom cried like a baby. I'd be able to do things like that and send them places. And I mean, you got to get up, take a stand. This thing is slipping away from some of you. It's time to do something. A clear picture I see. When I played football, I was a fat, sloppy kid. Even worse than now, you know. I mean, I was real bad. You ready to play football? And I went to a game first time, and I saw the captain of the football team. And he ran through the crepe paper and ran out on the field. And he went out and led the team every game. And then I went to a homecoming game, and he went out and big old ugly guy, you know. And he kissed the homecoming queen and crowned her. And I said, I want to be that guy. And I worked hard. You know, I ran 10, 15 miles a day and lifted weights, ate right, did all those things I don't like to do. And I did that for a couple years because I wanted to be the captain of the team, because I wanted to run through that crepe paper by the grass, you know, the stadium, the green grass. It was nice, and all the people were cheering. I died. I bled. I remember running 5, 10, 8, get the 11th mile, and you go another mile, and another mile, and another mile. And that became a reality for me. And there's a funny side to that, because when I got my chance, I ran through the crepe paper every time. When it came my time for homecoming, I went out there, picked the name out of the hat, looked at it, put it back in the hat. Went out, crowned the homecoming queen, gave her a kiss, came back. That night I go to the dance. Sergeant Tapman, ROTC guy in charge of homecoming, he says, how you doing, young? I said, great. I said, who's the homecoming queen, Sarge? And he says, what do you mean? I said, who's the homecoming queen? He goes, well, you went out and crowned her and everything. I mean, you know, it was Ellen Abelindy. I said, but who's really the homecoming queen? He said, what you talking about? I said, I went out there, pulled a name out of a hat, and I didn't like that girl. I put it back in her. I went and crowned Ellen. I died to be able to tell that story now. I bled, I sweat, just like a lot of you have. You suffered, you paid a price. And I'll tell you what, I came here to win. I don't know about you. I chose to win. That's why I have to be at every meeting. Larry Whitell calls, I'm there. I don't care what else is going on. Bob Turley calls, I'm in. You want to do something special, you got to do the same thing, and it's going to start with the person in your chair. I chose to win. I'd love to be able to go out and do some things like sometimes when people are sorry. I'd love maybe not to, have to be the guy that pays the bills all the time, but I chose to win. I don't have any decisions to make about that, and you got to get to a point where you don't make any more decisions about that. You choose to win, and that's it. Everything else you got to do. And that's the way you're going to do something big in this business, and it's going to start with you in that chair.